So in today's video, I want to explain a little bit about why ChatGPT is being used the wrong way in many cases and how to fix it. Let's go through the problem first. I think there's a lot of people out there who are sort of used to the way that they would approach Google search engine, and you would ask ChatGPT or any other GenAI tool out there, here's something that I'm asking for and I'm expecting a solution. So for example, give me a marathon training plan, which is pretty straightforward, right? So this is something that you would typically ask Google, and then Google would throw and spit out a bunch of results for you. But the problem with that is that it's just too simplified. It's being underutilized in many ways. So when it comes to ChatGPT, I think there's a lot of ways that you can start to think about ways to work with ChatGPT to help you in these sort of situations. So today I'm going to share a few ways how to use ChatGPT the right way, or in the best way that you can in order to maximize the value of these types of tools. I'll show you how to reframe those prompts. No special configuration is needed. You don't have to do anything in the back end of these tools. Everything is really at that layer between you and ChatGPT. As I mentioned before, what you see on the left is really the way that we traditionally interact with ChatGPT. But what we want to do is bring the tools like ChatGPT and others onto the same level as us. That way, it allows us to become sort of that team player. We're consulting with ChatGPT about the best ways to make this work, right? And so with that, I think one of the best ways to think about prompting is trying to reframe how you would approach this. So for example, if you were to give a traditional prompt, like give me a recipe to make a Hawaiian pizza. And again, like the marathon plan, that's quite simple. If you ask Google search, you'll be able to get a very straightforward answer and a very generic bunch of recipes from a whole host of chefs and websites here and there. But the problem though, is that what if you don't have any of those ingredients? What if you only have the pineapple, or you only have the pizza sauce? So if you don't have all the ingredients, then it becomes challenging to get that recipe and use it. What would be better is that if you could come up with different ways. So if you're not entirely set on having a pizza, what you could do is you could reframe the prompt. So you could say, I only have the following ingredients: pineapple and ham, but I'm missing pizza sauce, mushrooms, and flour. Provide me with other alternative recipes using the ingredients I have. Feel free to provide similar suggestions to pizza or something completely different, right? So this is the right way to approach this type of dilemma. So you're not asking ChatGPT to give you an exact recipe, which is expected. You're asking, what else can I make with the ingredients that I currently have, because I don't want to go to the grocery store and pick up the missing ingredients. The general note here is that you have to create a mind shift about the way to think about coming up with certain solutions. The next thing is, what if or how might we? So one of the key ways that I've been using ChatGPT is coming up with solutions that are not within my current purview. So if I give you a traditional prompt of give me a 16-week marathon training plan, right? Now, again, this is quite generic. The problem with this is that what time are you aiming for? What's your current state of fitness? How old are you? None of this information is included. So the prompt is just too generic, and what you'll get is a generic answer. What you really want to do is provide context to ChatGPT about how could I design a marathon training plan specifically for me, right? Based on my goals, my fitness level. So one way to reword this is, how might we design a 16-week New York City marathon training plan for a beginner? I currently am 35 years old, run 10 kilometers on average per week, and aiming for a time of sub 4 hours and 30 minutes, for example. And so another one would be, what if I trained for a half marathon instead of based on my current fitness level, which is X, whatever that may be? I consider myself a beginner and want to prevent injury. So again, these are examples of how you could relate with your own current situation, and from there provide context to ChatGPT about exactly what sort of information you want to get. And from that, they will be able to craft something a bit more specific to your own circumstances. All right, curiosity prompting. This one is kind of interesting because you're not really looking for a solution per se. You're trying to explore with ChatGPT. You're trying to understand exactly what are the edge cases, what things haven't I looked out for, right? So one example I like to give or I like to use is, write me a cold email to a potential customer. We're a business that sells X and is looking to target customers with this profile Y. It needs to be short and succinct. So right off the bat, any good founder or business owner would be perfectly happy with the response from that traditional prompt. Now, the problem though again is that the boundaries are not set, the context is not set. What you want to do again is provide more context to the reframed prompt. So we're a business that sells X and is looking to target customers with this profile Y. Besides the generic cold email I can send to this customer, I'm curious to know what other unique and unconventional ways I can get this customer's attention and interest. So here, you're not really asking for an email. You're asking, okay, besides an email, what else can I do to get their attention? Could I, get them on a podcast? Could I actually go physically to their location and meet them in person for a coffee, right? So these will be some of the solutions that ChatGPT will be able to provide to you outside of this, the regular cold call that every other founder will probably be doing as well. So it gives you the edge of trying to look for certain edge cases that might not be otherwise be obvious to you. So next is prompt chaining. We're a business that sells X and is looking to target customers with this profile Y. Besides a generic cold email I can send to this customer, I'm curious to know what other unique or unconventional ways I can get this customer's attention and interest. So this is going off the back previous response, the previous reframed prompt. So this is the reframed prompt here. And this is what happens when you start to chain prompts together, right? So out of this prompt, you'll probably get a pretty good response. But at that same time, this response is going to be a bit ambiguous. It's not going to be fully fleshed out in terms of the solution that you want. So additionally, what you want to do is ask follow-up questions. Okay, this is interesting. Based on your product, do you think we're selling to the right customer? Or based on your recommendation of X, how would this specific approach motivate the customer to work with us, and why this would be better than other suggestions mentioned? So again, this is something that I think is really helpful because this is an exploration exercise. You're not looking for an exact answer yet. You're trying to get to the final answer, but you're trying to weed out the bad ones from the good ones, right? And so prompt chaining by asking follow-up questions is really important and really helpful to doing that as well. Perspective prompting. This is a great way to think about how others might approach this question. So the traditional prompt in this case would be, write me an outline for a slide deck to a potential investor. The slide deck should include these elements X about our product Y. Now, that's perfectly fine, but the way that you could also approach this is if you ask an investor, okay, as an investor who has a reputation investing in X and deep experience in Y, what would you like to see in a pitch deck from a founder to raise money? And the rest goes on. So again, you're flipping the table and you're asking, okay, if I was the investor on the other side, what would I do? What would I be looking for, right? And it's a really, really helpful way to gauge, especially if you're trying to reach out to someone, you're trying to craft something, an email or a slide deck or something to reach out to a person, but you don't know exactly what they're looking for. You can provide context about who that person is, what they're looking for, what customer are they looking for as well. And that will give you a bit more insight into exactly what they're looking for. So I think that really gives you the sense overall about exactly what to do. What I'll do is I'll put all the materials in the show notes. What I want to really emphasize is that we're trying to move away from linear thinking to non-linear thinking, because at the same time, while ChatGPT is great for those basic Q&A questions, it's really, really powerful when you start to think about ChatGPT as a collaborator, as a consultant, as a team member that you're trying to use as a sounding board. So that's where it really comes down to forcing yourself to explore solutions that wouldn't otherwise be explored. And then over time, I think as you start to practice, you'll get the hang of it. You'll start to think about different ways to approach these types of questions, especially where there's no single answer. There's no real final solution. That's the best way to approach these types of questions, is to really go down that exploration path. So anyway, hopefully this has been useful. If you like it, subscribe, but hopefully this will help, and I'll see you in the next video.